Warning, the following views will be extremely offensive. You will hear foul language, sexual innuendos, and jokes in poor taste. Listener discretion is advised.
Coming at you from the Skyhammer Studios on a really, really cold Sunday morning. This is the Aldonzo Show.
Insanity in my earpiece.
That's right, insanity in the earpiece today. I'm Aldonzo, and I decided to kind of do this old school way like the Aldonzo and D Show was. Of course, Deez is not here right now, but hopefully in the future we're going to rectify that and see if we can get that back up and running. Or like I said, I'm Aldonzo, and if you are on the right side of things or you just have a functioning brain, you're probably going to enjoy this little show I've got for you, whether you're on Facebook or you're watching it on YouTube. If you are, make sure and like, subscribe, or follow on Facebook, and get down there and comment. Even if you hate me, get on there and comment that you hate me and how much you don't love me. And Aldonzo's got thick skin, so it doesn't matter to me. I decided to do this today on a Sunday because I've been watching what's been going on with Alex Pretti up in Minneapolis. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had the shooting of Renee Good, of course, a social justice superhero that decided she was going to stop ICE investigations with her vehicle, and in a panic. We're not really quite sure yet. We don't know what was going through her mind, but she actually hit an ICE officer. Of course, I did a video on this, confirmation bias, because people decided that they'd rather believe that she didn't hit the ICE officer, so there was no reason for him to shoot. What people don't understand is that law enforcement agencies, even military, when they're in an active zone, an active environment, it's always a stressful situation. If you want to protest and go to these places and protest, go ahead and protest. That's your right to protest. Don't get in the middle of it, though. Now, I'll give you a good example. And just so we can be clear on this, I said this years ago when it happened, and I kind of got some pushback for it, but I never deviated. I call a spade, okay? I'm going to call it as I see it. Let's go back. January 6, 2021. We all remember that day in D.C. Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed by Capitol Police Officer Michael Byrd while attempting to breach a barricaded door during the attack on the U.S. Capitol. The officer was later cleared of any wrongdoing as the shooting was deemed a necessary use of force to protect members of Congress. Now, I said this on the Aldonzo and D show back when this happened. We covered this. I watched this live on YouTube. I watched her death live on YouTube. They had YouTube streamers in there at the time, embedded with the people going into the Capitol. I said, look, she had no business in that building. I wouldn't have gone there. Did I like the results of the 2020 election? Absolutely not. We talked about that ad nauseum, but I wouldn't have gone into that Capitol building. To me, it was a setup. Now, Michael Byrd shot her. She wasn't a direct, immediate threat to him. She did not have a firearm, but I've said this from the get-go. She shouldn't have been in there. She was crawling through a window. Now, I'm not justifying Michael Byrd shooting Ashley Babbitt. I'm not doing that. But I wasn't there. And anytime you get to a point to where you're acting aggressively and there's law enforcement around, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. That could happen. Okay? People are going to get shot, especially in tense situations. But I don't remember anybody on the left coming out and, accusing Michael Byrd of executing anybody. Do you? I mean, if you're left and you're watching this right now, you're probably already getting pissed off. But why don't you tell me? Did you say Michael Byrd needs to be thrown in prison when this happened? Hell, did you even know about it? Did you even know Michael Byrd's name? You probably didn't. Because most of you people on the left have blinders on. You forget what your opinion was 5 minutes ago. You see something shiny. And something like this Alex Pretti or Renee Good getting killed, there's something deep down inside about really hardcore leftists, which hardcore leftism is not a political ideology. It's a fucking religion, okay? It's a religion. Like, you're going to believe whatever you're told to believe, regardless of objective evidence. We saw this with Renee Good. We literally saw this happen. Everybody came out and said they shot her for no reason. No, She was trying to run over an ICE officer. She didn't run him over. Here's a video. Well, she barely hit him. She tapped him. And then other people said she didn't even hit him. There's a video. She's pushing the guy with the car. The point is, she shouldn't have been there doing that. Most of these leftists that are freaking out about this and pushing these lies, or saying that, in the case of Renee Good, well, he should have been able to see which ways the wheels were turning. They have never been in a stressful situation where all of a sudden it's life or death. They've never been in it. They've had no training. They've never had to confront somebody invading into their home with a weapon. And by the way, Renee Good, as we talked about this, had a 5,000-pound weapon. It was justified. Had she not done what she did, had she just stayed off the sideline and protested, she'd still be alive today. Had she probably put her family and her young daughter first, instead of going and fucking impeding an ICE operation to catch bad criminals. These aren't just people. They're not going out and doing these raids for just people that simply came across the border. Yeah, do those people get arrested during these raids? Yeah, because they're there with them. They're getting scumbags. They're getting domestic abuse. They're getting drug dealers, MS-13, child molesters, child predators. That's what they're going after. So you got Tim Walz and you got Jacob Frey out here encouraging this and making ICE out to be something they're not. And it's scaring people and it's pissing them off because they have that confirmation bias. They're already vested in this, so they have to believe that anything ICE does, because ICE right now is directed by the Donald J. Trump administration, they have to believe that anything they do is going to be bad and it's going to be their fault. It's really, really sad what's going on in this country right now. And it's really sad that Tim Walz and Jake Frey, who, by the way, are up to their ears in this Somali fraud stuff, that God bless Nick Shirley, the young investigative reporter, he got out there. It's so bad that Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, isn't even running for re-election. He's like, fuck, I'm done, cash in the chips. That's how bad this is right now. So do you really think that Tim Walz or Jacob Frey give two shits about Renee Good or Alex Pretti? They don't. They don't. And as a matter of fact, they love it. They're probably loving the fact that this dipshit went in armed, which you've got the Second Amendment right, and I'll cover that here in a minute. They probably love that he went in armed, tried to stop an ICE raid or an ICE apprehension, got into it with the officers, got maced, and then kept resisting, and at some point, his gun discharged, and they shot him. You know why? Because all the people out there clutching their pearls right now are further distracted from what's really going on in Minnesota and what's really going on with Tim Walz and Jacob Frey in their state and in their city, Minneapolis. I remember back, Minneapolis, George Floyd. I mean, this has been a hotbed of bullshit for a lot of years up there. Go back to who runs it. Liberal run, not Democrat, liberal run, far left, liberal run city, and far left, liberal run state as well. So, we talked about Ashley Babbitt. That's my view on that. I've always held true to it. But when people put themselves in bad positions, what we used to do was we didn't used to blame the response that they got for it. Give you an example. Tell you what, go camping in bear country and then go feed a bear and then go play with a mama bear's cubs and you're going to get eaten. You're going to get mauled to death. Likely. And nobody's going to blame the bear, are they? Now you're thinking, Eldonzo, you can't compare ICE agents to a wild animal. Yeah, you can, because we're all animals and we all do things under pressure and react differently under tense, stressful situations. The best thing you can do if you don't want to get fucking unalived is not even put yourself in that situation. Don't make a human being do human being stuff. It's already bad enough. These people are trying to apprehend, and I'm going to go into the story here real quick, but I want to say this. These people are trying to do their job, and at best, they're surrounded by assholes, blowing whistles at them and shouting at them and moving up their cars closely and following them. That's right to protest. They can do that. But once you go into the street and start coming up to these ICE agents, or you start impeding their investigations, you've crossed from being a protester to being an agitator. And Antifa and a lot of these other far left groups are encouraging people to do this. They're literally encouraging. This is how you put your hands on an ICE agent. This is what you do. Renee Good was part of that group. I'm sure this guy was too. You play with fire, you're going to get burned. I don't blame the ICE agents in this. So we're going to go into the story here real quick. So this was from the New York Post. Armed anti-ICE disruptor fatally shot after confronting federal agents in Minneapolis. Here's a story. As of yesterday, this would have been January 24th at 5:05 p.m. This was the latest news as of yesterday. A federal agent shot and killed a man who allegedly brandished a gun at officers in Minneapolis Saturday as they attempted to arrest an illegal criminal migrant, sparking wild protests and hundreds of violent demonstrations flooding the streets in response. The incident, which was captured in multiple videos, came during a targeted operation against an illegal immigrant who Department of Homeland Security Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino later identified as Jose Huerta Chuma. Huerta Chuma, whose record allegedly includes domestic assault, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid driver's license, was wanted for assault and is in the midst of being apprehended when an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Now, it's up in the air right now. These were initial reports. Whether he actually showed them the handgun or not, we know he had it on him, and he had 2 loaded magazines. And we do know that the gun was loaded because it discharged during the scuffle with ICE agents. It goes on, videos taken by bystanders and posted to social media showed a man later identified as Minneapolis resident Alex Pretti approaching the officers while holding what appeared to be a cell phone, recording them. Approaching the officers. See where this is going? Clips of the ensuing scrum between Pretti and the officers do not clearly reveal a weapon, though authorities said Pretti had the gun along with 2 magazines of ammunition. Now, what really chaps old El Donzo's ass here is there's people going online that either A, didn't watch the videos or watched part of the videos and said this guy didn't have it coming. This guy was not in the wrong at all. They just like that narrative that ICE agents just went and started fucking executing people. That's what they're going to go with, because in the video I did last week, we talked about confirmation bias. That's exactly what's going on here. They will literally disregard any evidence, objective evidence that they're wrong, so they can, this is going on and see we were right. It's almost like they love it. And it's almost scary when you think about it. Actually, everything going on in the United States is scary. Now, Alex Pretti's SIG handgun, according to the New York Post, has history of accidentally firing, offering possible clue to why border agents shot him. Now, this is speculation. We do know the gun went off. They've confirmed that. I mean, unless something changes, they've confirmed it. Mr. Pretti had a SIG P320, which is known to accidentally go off. Now, there's accidental discharge and there's negligent discharge. Negligent discharge is when the human component comes into firing a gun when they did not mean to do it. That is negligent discharge. Accidental discharge, which really isn't a term that I use at all, because in my opinion, any non-intended discharge of a firearm is negligent, except in the case of the SIG P320, which appears to, if you rattle it or put pressure on it, appears to go off on its own in some cases. So, I guess what they're saying now is one of the ICE agents took the gun from him, either pulled it out of his waistband or took it out of his hand. We don't know yet. We don't have the facts. So why don't we just sit back and relax a little bit and let this news come in? Because people say he didn't have a gun. And this, well, he had a gun, but he didn't brandish the gun. Well, he has a Second Amendment right. All these liberals now are saying he had a Second Amendment right. And he does have a Second Amendment right. But that right takes a lot different territory when you are getting into a fight with ICE agents and you are not resisting arrest. There's a difference between self-protection and exercising your Second Amendment right and being a prick and asking to have the cops put their hands on you. Now you are an armed suspect. You're not exercising your Second Amendment right peacefully. All you are to them is an armed suspect. You have no ID on you. You are resisting. You're impeding an investigation. This guy was also maced too, or pepper sprayed, whatever they hit him with, before he decided to come back for seconds. Now, they say that he may have been brandishing the gun. We don't know that for a fact. That was initial reports. Point being, all he had to do was stay on the sidewalk and not keep his mouth shut. He could have shouted and hollered and done whatever he wanted to do. He'd still be alive today. We wouldn't be reading the story that he was shot. A lot of these armchair quarterbacks say this stuff about ICE agents or FBI or just local police, which, by the way, Minneapolis police don't do shit anymore. It kind of pisses me off. Can you blame them? Like, who the hell would want to go out there and have the rest of their lives ruined because they had to do their job? Kind of touched on this, though. Yes, these people are in stressful situations, life or death situations. A lot of their time on the streets is just that. So when you go up and you start throwing more curveballs at them, something's going to get missed there. Maybe not even missed. Maybe they're going to do what they're supposed to do what they're trained to do, and they're going to be justified in it. The shooting of Renee Good, I believe, is going to be justified if it goes to a fair court. And I believe this is going to be justified as well. So go ahead and you leftists out there, get ready to burn the cities down, because this isn't going to go the way you want it. Now, a lot of this, with the protests, like I said, Jacob Frey and Tim Walz, this is a counterattack to the Trump administration. That's why you see PMSNBC and CNN and all these far-left news outlets. They want to ruin him for the midterms. That's why you're seeing this. That's it right now. That's the only reason why they're making a big deal out of ICE. You got to remember something. ICE has been around for decades. All of a sudden now it's a problem. A couple more things I want to get into that kind of relate to this is we talked about the Somali fraud. We talked about this being a political tool. We talked about Ashley Babbitt. Second Amendment. We didn't get in depth about that. Did Alex Pretti have a Second Amendment right to carry his gun? He absolutely did. But when you conceal carry a pistol, here in Illinois we can do that. You can pretty much do it in every state. When you conceal carry a firearm, you're taking a huge, huge responsibility to exercise that right responsibly. You should be practicing situational awareness. You should be doing your best. And this is, I've been in training classes, I've helped with training classes on this, doing your best to avoid any confrontation whatsoever, whether it be with the police, whether it be with somebody that's acting hostile. The absolute last thing you want to do when you're carrying a firearm, and you're legally allowed to do it for your Second Amendment right, is to put yourself in a position to where you may have to use it, or you may get hurt. Stay away from it. Just that's the biggest key thing. And any firearms instructor, or specifically concealed carry instructor, will tell you that. This guy went in to the lion's den, and he poked the lions, and they had to bite him. That's what happened here. Now I see people talking about, ICE is detaining citizens, and they're getting rid of citizens. They're pulling armed citizens. Citizens need to protect. No, they're not. They're not doing that. The only citizens that are getting harmed is when they go up and proverbially smack ICE in the face. Those are the only citizens getting harmed or getting detained. They need to stop doing it. And if Jacob Frey and Tim Walz were real leaders, they would put a screeching ass halt to this right now. But do you notice they're not? When did I keep mixing them up. Frey and Walz and Frey. Sounds like a acoustic duo. When did Walz and Frey ever come out and tell these people, do not interrupt ICE operations? Do not try to stop at apprehension. Stay on the sidewalk. They never did they? They could come out and say, we don't agree with what ICE is doing, but you don't have any business trying to stop this. Leave that up to us. You need to be responsible citizens. You can protest if you want to, but do not try to stop this. They have never, ever, ever tried to quell this. All they're doing is igniting this. Jacob Frey, ICE needs to get the fuck out of Minneapolis. You know what? You need to start running Minneapolis. Not like a Republican or a conservative, like somebody who actually cares about your people. You know what else you need to do? You should probably address this Somali fraud while you're up there talking shit about ICE agents and Donald Trump. Just food for thought there, Tim and Jacob. Anyway, I think I'm going to get out of here. I said all I need to say about this, and there's going to be a lot of detractors. There's already a lot of detractors, people clutching their pearls, and of course making shit up. We talked about that confirmation bias. I see it already. You know, people, if you think this was justified, then unfriend me. I may just have to. You can unfriend me. I don't do that, or unfriend or unfollow, or whatever the term is. I got no shame in my game. And you know what? It was just proven recently. That, and I've said this before, usually once you get people like this sitting down at a table and you're face to face with them, usually you can get some solid ground there. You can get some common ground with them. They'll usually, lower their defense pretty quick once you're face to face with them. You guys got to stop having political discussions on social media because they hide behind a barrier. They can come up with whatever bullshit they want, and it makes them feel big and proper. But when you actually get them one-on-one, a whole lot of stuff changes. And that's one of the problems we have right now. That's why we're seeing everything that happens, because these people live in a vacuum, and they only want to hear what makes them feel good and fires these neurons off in their brain. That's all they want to hear, and they just keep listening to people saying it, and they get themselves worked up. They're always looking for the next villain, and because they're looking for the next villain, they want to believe everything's villainous. They want to believe that everything's evil, and we're seeing it unfold right now. So, and for the right, you could practice the same thing as well. I see a lot of stupid stuff on Facebook, on Twitter. Give you an example: Renee Good putting cigarettes out on her kid's arm. That's never been, somebody just came up with that. So it's going on the right too. But the right isn't like burning cities and everything. We do everybody's got their stupid stuff, but do me a favor, try to stick with the facts. Quick anecdote. When I was a young kid, my grandfather told me that a certain hunting slug would rise when you fired it. Something about them, they rose up and then they'd drop. They'd rise and then so wow, that's really, yeah. So I went years thinking that when I was younger, like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, these actually rise. That's not the case. My older brother actually corrected me on that. That's impossible. That defies physics. I thought, and I looked at it. The bullet doesn't necessarily rise on its own. It rises because when you shoot it out of a shotgun, your barrel isn't flat. If the barrel was flat, it would lose trajectory immediately coming out of the barrel slowly. It's because usually when you shoot a shotgun, it's up like that. But for years, I didn't believe that. I believe this because somebody I trusted told me he didn't know any better. So you have to be open-minded, and you have to be willing to look at objective evidence. When this stuff comes out, the first thing everybody does is they default to, it was ICE's fault, this guy didn't do anything wrong, and we're going to run with it. And that's what's probably leading into potentially the next second civil war in this country. I hope it doesn't come down to that. But when you've got sides that's so polar opposites what's going on now, and they hate each other. They literally hate each other. Neighbors won't speak to neighbors. Relationships get ruined over this. Family members don't quit talking to other family members. It's getting pretty bad. So why don't we just put those pearls down? We don't need to clutch them right yet. Wait for all the evidence to come out, and we'll go from there. Just use your logic. Trust the evidence when you see it. And if you don't see any evidence yet, keep your mouth shut. Wait for it. All right. This is El Donzo. It's cold as hell. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to try to warm up a little bit and maybe have me a ice cold beer once I do that. So, hey, have a good Sunday. We'll catch you on the flips.